let's talk about a story that on the surface might sound almost unbelievable.
Mm.
A video game giant, one of the most recognizable names in the digital playground of our children, Roblox, is being sued. Sued by whom? Not by a competitor, not by the federal government, not by Wall Street investors. No, Roblox is being sued by a 12-year-old child. Yes, you heard that right, a child. And before you roll your eyes or dismiss this as just another bizarre story from America's endlessly strange court system, stop, because what's at stake here isn't just one lawsuit. What's at stake here is a question that should make every parent, every teacher, every regulator, and frankly, every citizen sit up straight. What responsibility do billion-dollar tech platforms have to the most vulnerable people who use them? Now, Roblox is not some obscure niche app. Roblox is a global phenomenon, more than 70 million daily active users, hundreds of millions of accounts, a marketplace where kids don't just play games, they create them, they spend money, they buy virtual clothes, they buy status. It's a platform that has been marketed, celebrated, and embraced as the digital playground of Generation Z and now Generation Alpha. But behind the cute avatars, behind the colorful branding, behind the promise of creativity and fun, there is a hard truth. Roblox is a money-making machine. It is designed to keep kids clicking, creating, spending, and yes, consuming. And now a 12-year-old is saying, enough. This lawsuit alleges that Roblox has failed in its duty to protect young players, that it has enabled harmful practices, that it has prioritized profit over protection. And isn't that the story we've heard again and again when it comes to big tech? Facebook knew Instagram was harming teenage girls, but kept going. TikTok is addictive by design, but keeps growing. YouTube has served disturbing content to kids for years and shrugged. And now Roblox, the platform that many parents still think of as harmless or just a game, is being dragged into the spotlight. But let's pause here, because when you hear a 12-year-old is suing Roblox, you might ask, how does a child even file a lawsuit? The truth is, of course, this case is being backed, supported, shepherded by adults, parents, lawyers, advocates who believe this isn't just about one child. It's about millions of children. It's about drawing a line in the sand and saying these platforms cannot continue to exploit kids with impunity. And ask yourself this, why is it always children who are the testing ground for corporate greed? Would $1 billion company design a casino for adults without strict regulations, without oversight, without safeguards? No. But they will happily build casino-like systems for children, loot boxes, in-game purchases, algorithmic nudges, and call it entertainment. Why? Because children are vulnerable, children are impulsive, and children make money. So this lawsuit is not some frivolous case. It is a mirror held up to an industry that has thrived in the shadows of accountability. And if Roblox, one of the most kid-friendly brands on the planet, is facing this reckoning, then maybe it's time we start asking who else should be next. Let's be clear about what Roblox really is. It's not just a game. It's not just a platform. It is in many ways an economy. Children log in to play, yes, but they also log in to build, to sell, to trade. And here's the kicker. Roblox takes a hefty cut of every single transaction. Imagine an amusement park where kids build the rides, kids pay for the rides, kids run the concessions, but the park owners sit back and take their share of every dollar. That's Roblox. It is marketed as a creative wonderland, but it is structured as a marketplace that feeds off the creativity and spending habits of children. So when a 12-year-old steps forward and says, this isn't fair, this isn't safe, this isn't right, it forces us to ask questions most adults have ignored. Are children being exploited for profit? Are they being exposed to inappropriate content under the watch of a company that claims to be safe? Are they being nudged, psychologically nudged, to spend money in ways that no responsible adult would ever allow in the offline world? Let's talk about the so-called Robux, the in-game currency. It sounds fun, doesn't it? Robux, colorful, harmless, just a token of play, but it's not. It's money. It's real money translated into virtual credits, stripped of the weight of dollars and cents so that children don't feel the sting of spending. And here's the trick. Roblox has been accused of making it deliberately confusing, deliberately uneven, so that children end up with leftover credits that pressure them to buy more and more and more. Doesn't that sound like the kind of psychological manipulation regulators should be watching closely? And yet, it has been normalized. The lawsuit points at all of this and says no more. And if you think this is just about Roblox, think again, because the playbook is the same across the tech industry. Strip away the fun branding, the cheerful mascots, the cartoon characters, and what you find is a corporate structure designed for maximum extraction of time, of data, of money. Children aren't just playing, they are being monetized. And let's not forget the safety angle. Roblox has long claimed to have moderation, filters, controls in place to keep kids safe. And yet again and again, we've seen reports of children exposed to predators, to inappropriate content, to harassment, all within the so-called safe playground of Roblox. How is it that a company valued in the tens of billions cannot seem to guarantee the most basic form of safety to its youngest users? How is it that a platform so deeply entrenched in the lives of children has been allowed to regulate itself for so long? This lawsuit is a reminder. Children don't have lobbyists. They don't have PR firms. They don't have armies of lawyers on retainer. But billion-dollar corporations do. And unless the public, unless regulators, unless courts step in, the balance of power is always going to be tilted in favor of profit, not protection. Which is why a 12-year-old suing Roblox isn't just symbolic, it is necessary. Think about the pattern here. Roblox isn't the first tech giant to find itself in the crosshairs of controversy, and it won't be the last. We've seen this movie before. Facebook was told years ago that Instagram was driving teenage girls into spirals of insecurity and depression, but they kept pushing, kept profiting. YouTube's algorithms were found to funnel kids toward disturbing and extremist content. And what happened? Some tweaks, some public statements, a few mea culpas, but the profits kept rolling in. TikTok has been accused of addicting children with endless scroll mechanics, harvesting their data, and even exposing them to harmful trends, and yet it remains one of the most downloaded apps on the planet. Why? Because big tech has mastered the art of one thing, moving faster than governments, faster than regulators, faster than watchdogs. They innovate at lightning speed, releasing new features, new mechanics, new tricks to keep users hooked. But when the consequences hit, when kids get harmed, when communities suffer, when mental health crises skyrocket, suddenly we're told, oh, this is complicated. This will take years of study. We need more evidence. And by the time governments act, the damage is already done. This lawsuit against Roblox, driven by a 12-year-old, is a reminder of that gap. Regulators didn't step in. Lawmakers didn't set boundaries. Schools didn't have the power. So a child, backed by concerned adults, had to push the system to answer for itself. Isn't that damning? Isn't that an indictment of how badly we've let children down in the digital age? Let's also talk about accountability. If a toy company sold a product that injured kids, lawsuits would fly, recalls would be issued, regulations would tighten. If a food company marketed harmful products directly to children, we'd have public outrage, congressional hearings, boycotts. But when a tech company creates systems that addict, exploit, and expose children, we shrug. We let them hide behind legal jargon, behind terms of service no 12-year-old could possibly read, behind the myth of parental responsibility. Yes, parents matter, but parents cannot moderate millions of lines of code, cannot fight armies of engineers designing algorithms, cannot oversee every single interaction on a platform where children are outnumbered by strangers from all over the world. So when defenders of Roblox or any other platform say it's up to the parents, let's be honest, that's a cop out. That's big tech washing its hands of responsibility. That's like saying car companies don't need seatbelts because parents should just drive carefully, or saying cigarette companies don't need warning labels because parents should just know better. We don't accept that in other industries. Why do we accept it here? The truth is, children have become the testing ground for corporate greed. They are the beta testers, the guinea pigs, the first line of exploitation. Their attention spans, their impulses, their insecurities, all of it is being mined for profit. And when the consequences become too glaring to ignore, when lawsuits like this one pop up, the companies feign surprise, promise reform, and quietly prepare their lawyers for battle. But maybe this time with Roblox, things will be different. Maybe this time, the fact that the lawsuit is led by a child will cut through the corporate spin, because you can dismiss critics, you can dismiss journalists, you can dismiss regulators, but it's a lot harder to dismiss the voice of a 12-year-old saying this hurt me, this exploited me, this needs to stop. So where do we go from here? Because if all we do is tell the story, if all we do is shake our heads at the absurdity of a 12-year-old taking on a multi-billion dollar corporation, then nothing changes. What we need is accountability. What we need is recognition that the digital playground cannot remain the digital Wild West. First, we need transparency. These companies thrive in the dark. They hide their algorithms. They bury their profit models. They distract us with shiny features. It is time regulators demand that platforms like Roblox open the books, show us how money is being made, how kids are being nudged to spend, how content is being moderated or not moderated at all. Without sunlight, there is no accountability. Second, we need regulation with teeth, not voluntary codes of conduct, not PR campaigns promising to do better. We need laws that set real limits on how companies can monetize children. We need penalties that make companies think twice before exploiting kids' vulnerabilities. Because let's be blunt, a slap on the wrist fine does nothing to a billion-dollar company. They write it off as the cost of doing business. Real accountability means real consequences. Third, we need cultural change. Parents cannot do this alone. Teachers cannot do this alone. Even courts cannot do this alone. We need a shift in how society views children online. We have to stop seeing them as just digital natives who can handle anything and start seeing them as what they are, children. Children who need safeguards, who need protections, who need the same level of care we demand in every other sphere of their lives. We childproof our homes. We childproof our schools. Why do we refuse to childproof the internet? And finally, we need courage. Because let's be honest, big tech is powerful. It has money, it has lobbyists, it has influence. Going up against it is not easy. But this lawsuit, this 12-year-old, is showing us what courage looks like. Courage is saying, I may be small, but I have a voice. Courage is saying, you cannot keep doing this without consequences. Courage is saying, children are not your customers to be milked. They are human beings to be protected. So the next time you hear someone dismiss this case as silly, as frivolous, as just a game, ask yourself, would you say the same if it were your child, if it were your money, your safety, your future on the line? Because for millions of kids, Roblox isn't just a game. It's a world they live in, spend in, and sometimes suffer in. And if that world is built on exploitation, then a 12-year-old suing Roblox isn't just a headline, it's a wake-up call. So let's talk about solutions, because it's not enough to shake our heads at the story of a 12-year-old taking Roblox to court. It's not enough to marvel at the courage of a child standing up to a multi-billion-dollar corporation. What matters is what we do next. What matters is whether this case becomes a turning point or just another footnote in the long history of big tech dodging responsibility. The first solution is transparency. These companies thrive on opacity. Their algorithms are black boxes. Their economic systems are hidden in fine print. Their promises of safety are vague and unverifiable. We can't protect kids if we don't know what they're being exposed to, how they're being nudged, how they're being manipulated. Regulators should demand disclosure, not optional, not self-reported, but mandatory. If you're making billions off children, you owe the public a full accounting of how that system works. The second solution is enforcement, not suggestions, not recommendations, enforcement. For too long, tech giants have responded to criticism with carefully worded statements about learning experiences and commitments to improvement. But while they apologize, they continue to profit. We need laws with teeth, penalties that actually hurt, restrictions that force change. If a toy company can be forced to recall unsafe products, if a car company can be held liable for dangerous designs, why not a tech company for unsafe platforms? The digital world is no less real, no less consequential than the physical one. The third solution is to change the culture around kids online. We cannot keep pretending children are miniature adults. They're not. They don't have the same impulse control, the same skepticism, the same defenses. We safeguard children in classrooms, on playgrounds, in public spaces. We regulate how advertisers can talk to them. But online, we abandon them. We hand them over to corporations that see them not as children, but as revenue streams. That has to change. And the fourth solution, maybe the most important, is courage. Because taking on big tech is not easy. These companies are rich, powerful, influential. They buy lobbyists, they fund think tanks, they shape narratives. They make sure the conversation always shifts back to parental responsibility, always away from corporate accountability. But courage means refusing to let them get away with it. Courage means parents demanding better. It means lawmakers acting faster. It means the public paying attention, not dismissing this as just a game. Because here's the truth for millions of kids, Roblox isn't just a game. It's a world where they spend hours of their lives, where they build communities, where they spend money, where they form identities. And if that world is rigged, if that world is unsafe, if that world is built to exploit them, then this lawsuit is not trivial, it's essential. At the end of the day, this story is not just about one child and one lawsuit. It is about the kind of digital world we are building for the next generation. It is about whether we allow billion-dollar corporations to treat children as easy targets for profit, or whether we finally draw the line and say, no more. Roblox being sued by a 12-year-old is not an oddity, not a curiosity, not a headline to be forgotten tomorrow. It is a warning shot. It is a reminder that children are paying the price for our failure to hold big tech accountable. So the choice before us is simple. We can laugh it off, dismiss it, move on, or we can take it seriously. We can listen to the voice of a child saying, this isn't fair, this isn't safe, this isn't right, and we can demand change. Because if we won't listen to the children who are living inside these platforms every day, then who will we listen to? And if we won't act now, when the warning is loud and clear, then when will we act? A 12-year-old has done what regulators, lawmakers, and executives have failed to do: force a reckoning. The question is not whether she will win or lose in court. The question is whether we will finally wake up to the reality staring us in the face, that our kids deserve better.